In order to predict a country's future, you have to look at its past. Where a country is headed is determined by practices of the past and decisions made in the present. Every industrial investment experience of the past has made the manufacturing sector what it is. Since Kenya gained its independence, one of its biggest pillars in the growth of its economy is the manufacturing sector. For over 60 years, this industry has provided wealth through employment opportunities to a vast number of Kenyans, as well as grown the country's economy through contribution to Kenya's GDP. Similarly, over the last 60 years, the Kenya Association of Manufacturers has been working hard, hand in hand with the government and the manufacturers in the association to ensure the growth of this industry.
The Kenya Association of Manufacturers is a representative body of the manufacturing and value-add industries in Kenya.
The association has been in existence longer than Kenya has been a republic.
What we do is advocate for a conducive, competitive and sustainable business environment.
Its primary role is policy, research and advocacy.
We have existed for 60 years, and this year in 2019, Kenya Association of Manufacturers is commemorating their 60th year anniversary.
The journey of industrialization in Kenya was not an easy one for the manufacturers at that time.
When I came over here from Tanzania, I started finding suffocation, that there was no way the industries can grow unless and until there is a dialogue between the government and the private sector. So I was advised by my chairman, the then Sir Ernest Wesi, that look, if you want to influence anything, and if you want to create an environment, please join KAM. And through an association, not individually, you can open up a path, not only for yourself, but for all the industries in the country.
I've been in the manufacturing sector soon after independence, but I joined Kenya Association of Manufacturers, and after some years, I became the chairman of KAM. My main focus was to see how you can get Africans into industry.
During our time, we had a problem of import licenses, we had a problem of exchange control, we had a problem of duties on raw materials and whatnot. We had to really fight and got a number of things removed. Why? Not because me, because the association led and by people who could be counted, their contribution to the country.
It is this foundation that the earlier members laid that the current association stands on.
I think the result is there. You can see now the participation. The KAM is very active. It still looks after the whole of the industrial sector, not just the Africans, but Africans are now playing a more significant role than they used to.
The strides made by the Association of Manufacturers over the 60 years of existence in the country have been massive.
When I look out there, and I have been here quite a while, and I see the changes that are taking place, it's very encouraging. Also, when you look at the number of people, when you walk in the city or walk in the industry and see the people who are working, streaming large numbers of people going into industrial area, going into the city center, it's a story of growth. Very good growth. It's very difficult to picture what I'm seeing now. That's going to be the tallest. You couldn't picture it. You couldn't see that development coming, considering how small we were as an economy.
Over the years, we've seen a lot of change in the dynamics. A lot of local industries have come on board. We have industries not just in one location in the country, we have industries around the country.
The government must have been a key player in the industry then and is currently still taking serious measures to ensure that the local industry thrives and that this growth is sustained.
Part of it is really accept the reality that a country cannot develop by becoming a net importer. So you look at making sure you enforce anti-counterfeit law and policy. You make sure our institutions for testing standards are well and running. You make sure there is no corruption in those institutions. That taxes are conducive. The enablers like power is affordable. And this is what we are doing. For example, we've been able to bring down power tariffs significantly.
CAM for the last 60 years has been very instrumental in, I don't even want to say lobby, I want to say in advising government, in partnering with government to actually say, if the energy cost could come down, look at what would happen.
We carry out resource efficiency audits for our members. So those are energy audits, water audits. This enables our members to become competitive by reducing their cost of energy.
We've seen the government really invest in terms of electricity generation. And I would say that like right now, we feel there is adequate power supply in the country. Of course, we're still having the conversations about what that cost should be per unit, but the government has done well in making sure that we are not turning on our generators.
Incentivizing an investor is the biggest investment Kenya needs to make.
I think the other one is infrastructure. I think you all remember a few years ago, maybe going 15, 20 years ago, our roads were in terrible state. I think right now, everywhere I think we look, roads are being made. Of course, we are not 100%, but I think the government has really come to the table in terms of infrastructure development, including even the SGR, which is helping manufacturers get more efficient from a logistics perspective in delivering our goods inbound as well as outbound.
These outbound goods create new markets for Kenyan commodities that would have proven difficult without the government's assistance.
We want to expand our markets by making sure that the African region, which is nearer to us, is also opened up through this multilateral arrangement that is being spearheaded. Kenya is actually leading in that.
It is clear that manufacturing is one of the major sectors that the government has given priority to in their development goals.
If you want to generate many jobs that our young people require and create wealth in a very short time and grow our GDP in a significant manner, manufacturing is a sector to focus on.
In the earlier days, Kenya had very few industries and a lot of imports into the country. But over the years, new industries have emerged, creating 14 sectors and multiple subsectors. This means the scope of manufacturing has grown. The Association of Manufacturers itself has grown from one that was ran by a board without a secretariat to having a secretariat with over 70 employees skilled in different fields. This would not have been possible without the contribution of past leadership and especially former CAM CEO Ms. Betty Maina, now the Principal Secretary for Industrialization. The last 60 years has been a journey that has seen the association grow to represent industries across 14 sectors of the economy. Some of these include the food and beverage sector, metal and allied sector, textile and apparel sector, plastic, paper and automotive sectors, among many others.
The Kenya Association of Manufacturers is open for membership from manufacturing and value-add industries of all levels, all the way from the SMEs to the medium companies to the large companies to multinationals. And they'll find an opportunity to interact with like-minded value addition and manufacturing experts across all our 14 sectors.
We are a members organization in manufacturing. We do have some service providers within there, but 62-63% of our membership is actually SMEs.
In recognition of that, we've set up an SME hub to offer additional support to the SMEs. It's also an opportunity for us to create linkages and subcontracting opportunities between the larger manufacturers and the SMEs as they start up their businesses.
We provide both the fact-based advocacy as well as provide some possible workable solutions for some of the problems facing the manufacturers.
Not only does CAM play these roles for local manufacturers and SMEs, but also for net exporters looking to add value to their products.
Through KM, we've been discussing with the government on what kind of opportunities we have on the whole and how our sector as a EPZ apparel textile sector, how it can actually add value. So we've realized that there is a $40 trillion worth of GDP market which is duty-free access from Kenya. So there's so much we can do in the export sector. That's why I think the initiative now is export-driven industrialization even from the government side also.
For SMEs wanting to enter the export market, a lot of them will get bewildered by the amount of red tape they have to go through if they're doing agricultural product exports, the amount of inspections, etc. they have to go through. The Kenya Association of Manufacturers can help demystify the process and can help them grow their businesses outside. So we're constantly looking out for new markets which our members can enter.
We asked ourselves, who do we sell to if we don't even sell to each other? So we came up with our first manufacturing expo in my first year, and the second one was even bigger. And right now, we've just come from the third one, which now they've completely parachuted it to be a whole Changamka festival that was at the Kasarani.
This is from the Jokali sector.
This edition of the Manufacturing Expo was the biggest manufacturing festival in Kenya with a record attendance of over 100,000 people.
The whole idea is, to show to Kenyans the Buy Kenya, Build Kenya policy. This is what manufacturers have.
This is where Brand Kenya comes in.
Brand Kenya exists to let the rest of the world know who we are, our products, our services, our geography, nice place to come even for tourists, nice place for investors, for manufacturers. And we also exist to sell Kenya to Kenyans, because a country taking pride in who they are is something that is also important. In fact, it's a great step in helping to create that competitiveness.
In the 60s, when Kenya was a colony, a lot of products were produced as raw materials in the country and taken abroad for value addition.
So I started deciding that how can we really break this? How can we create a better environment for all the industries? And that means we need to start dialoguing with the government.
Government is much more supportive of private sector. They understand it better. Or I would say perhaps they understand each other better. Government sometimes may not be aware. You make a rule, but you may not be aware of its impact. But I think Kenya has done well in that, mainly because of KM.
We don't think government on its own can be able to bring the transformation that is required. We see that government largely has to provide the enabling environment, and then private sector will do the rest. And therefore, Kenya Association of Manufacturers, being an association of industrialists in these countries, are a very, very valued partner in walking this journey. We are able to get feedback from industry on what is ailing them, where we can improve, where we have improved. That is the value of Kenya Association of Manufacturers.
I think the biggest achievement of Kenya Association of Manufacturers is the continuous conversations with government and continuous consultations. Of course, sometimes we don't get it right and sometimes we are at loggerheads. But by and large, I think when we have a conversation and we put the right facts on the table, I think both manufacturers and both Kenya government, we come to a good conclusion.
We're also working with the government pretty closely to try and deliver the manufacturing pillar under the Big Four agenda.
Actually, manufacturing is at the center of the Big Four agenda, because it doesn't matter what you talk about. They talk about food security, they talk about affordable housing, whether you talk about universal health care, there will be elements of manufacturing in each one of them. So I dare say that it is actually the most central of the Big Four agenda.
The ambition under the Big Four agenda is to grow manufacturing share of GDP from 8.3% to 15% by 2022. Have we made progress on some fronts? Yes. Is there a lot more to be done? Yes. So what we now need is speed of execution and implementation if we are to deliver that growth.
In order for the Kenya Association of Manufacturers to serve the manufacturers as well as the people of Kenya, their plan for the future must be in place and already in motion.
My wish for CAM, and I think the vision I see for CAM, is to continue to be a strong partner for manufacturing, to continue to push for an environment for manufacturing and to grow it, and to become such a pillar that we become exactly what we envisioned in our future of industry, to actually be there to chart the future of industry.
When industry wins, Kenya wins. We've got to make sure as a country that we develop, we create jobs, we provide export earnings, and that there is always investment coming into the country.
The Association of Manufacturers would also like to appeal to young people and young entrepreneurs and innovators to consider joining the association and also participating in the manufacturing sector. And with the technological advancements, automation and data required to grow the manufacturing sector, the young people are going to play a critical role in taking the sector forward.
I see Kenya being an undeveloped country in 60 years that has taken care of its youth, young people in terms of employment, that has pulled most of people out of poverty, that most of the people will be in the middle class. And that will be the engine of, economic transformation in Africa.
What Kenya should be, and what Kenya is, and what Kenya was, there's a huge difference. But then what Kenya can be, which is sky is the limit.